Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of statistics, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and an enormous selection of players and stat options are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million football fans who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/get100 and use code GET100. That's code GET100 at prizepicks.com/get100 for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Welcome to 3 Yards Per Carry, a podcast covering the Miami Dolphins and the NFL. Now, here's your hosts, Chris, Alf, and Simon.
First and 10, the fake, good block in there, and down it goes, caught at the 30. This is the dynamic Hill. He's in for 6. Tyreek Hill, touchdown. 2nd and 6. Berrios on the move, pitch out A-Chain, blocked by Berrios, blocked by Armstead. Look at him dive, look at him score. The 2nd down and goal. Oh, look at that! Shovel pass, A-Chain! Breaks a tackle and dives for 6! Mostert is in. 1st and 10. Here's the call. The big gain. He broke a tackle with Sanders. He gets by the defensive back, Mathis, and takes it in for 6!
Let's dance the conga.
A-Chain. Spinning. Mostert. Blocked in there. Touchdown. With the door open by the right guard, Robert Hunt leads the way. 4th and goal. A-Chain. Oh, that's Mostert who takes it in. Mostert was in the backfield. 3rd and 7 against the call. There's a nice block from Hill. Oh, look at the move. Dazzling display. Touchdown, Miami. Mostert. On the interception, gives Miami this great position, 2nd and goal. Shovel pass, A-Chain, touchdown. 3rd down, 10, 32, White, going deep. Oh, he's got it, chosen! Beating Surtain for 6. 2nd down and 2, A-Chain, big hole. Turns it on, accelerating. You can kiss him goodbye. In a game that almost defies description.
Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl, cause we're the Miami.
Hello, welcome to 3 Yards Per Carry. It is a Victory Monday, unlike any other. I woke up this morning and said to my other half, I had a dream that the Miami Dolphins scored 70 points and won by 50. And she said, yeah, dreams are great, aren't they? But before we go any further, before I introduce the guys, I just want to start with a moment of silence for Sean Payton's dignity and all Denver Bronco fans everywhere.
What about their media?
And their media. Chris is here as always. Alf is here as always. I am Simon. You know the drill. The Miami Dolphins did something that in my lifetime, in Alf's lifetime, which is a long time, in Chris's lifetime, we've never seen the like of. I just want to get us rolling with some stats before we kind of get into it. Miami became the first NFL team to score 70 points in a game since November 1966, 2 months before the first Super Bowl. They broke team records for points, touchdowns, total yards, rushing yards, and second half points. 70 points tied the 1950 round, so the third most in a game in NFL history. 726 yards were second behind only a 735-yard effort from the Rams in 1951. They're also the first team to score 14 plus points in every quarter of a game since the Lions in 1957 against Cleveland. It was also the first 350-yard passing, 350-yard rushing game in NFL history. And I suppose just as wild as anything, there wasn't a single defensive or special teams touchdown as part of it. And most of the 10 touchdowns were scored actually as a result of sustained drives. We had scoring possessions entailing 75, 81, 75, 86, 90, 77, 68, 75, 7, and 3 yards, respectively. Yesterday was a very, very special day to be a Miami Dolphin fan, and drink it in, because this is an offense and a team that, I don't know, I'm not sure we've seen the like of. This show, 3 yards per carry, is as always brought to you by Prize Picks. Use the promo code 3 yards, that's 3 YARDS. Get a $100 match bonus on your $100 deposit. By BetterEdge, go to betteredge.com/5 reasons. Get $20 just for signing up. By GoPuff.com, use the promo code WELCOME1010. That's 1010. Get $10 off your first 10 orders. By Factormeals.com, promo code 3 yards per carry 550 for 50% off your first order. And by DiscountLots.com, call 661-485-4086 and use promo code 5FIVE for 10% discount and discover how land ownership is made easy. I've been thinking, boys, about how to start this show this week, and I genuinely am not really sure where to begin. Have you both come down from the ceiling yet? Because yesterday, as I said, was a pretty special day.
It was completely insane, to the point where you start looking up like stats and obscure stats to try to make jokes about it. And I got one for you. That output would have been the greatest offensive output in the history of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Does that tell you enough, Simon, of what kind of performance that was on Sunday?
Chris, it was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I was trying to compare it. I was trying to compare it to a giant blowout in the Tua Tagovailoa era at Alabama, and there was none. So I tried to look for one for Jalen Hurts. It didn't exist. AJ McCarron, it didn't exist. You had to go back to like 1921, and I'm not going to count football from 1921. Yeah. There was a game in 1951 where they scored 73 points, but I'm not going to count that one either. But modern era, 80s and 90s college football, when like Tommy Frazier's Nebraska would score like 70 against East Chattanooga State or something, and it was that kind of game, Chris, wasn't it? It was just insane.
I've never, I've not. Yeah, it is like watching college football, and they took on McNeese State. It was something like that. Like, you've seen some college games like that, so you can't say you've never seen it before. But this was just absolutely insane to see that happen on an NFL field on NFL Sunday. Against a team
an NFL team.
An NFL team.
I mean, apologies to the Cowboys of McNeese State, because I think they'd have beaten the Broncos yesterday.
Well, God, they do play solid football sometimes. But no, I think that this was one of the most unique experiences of the day. I really have nothing against Broncos fans, and that's sort of like it's not that I feel like torn at all, because hey, we all just wanted to, them to pile it on and win just because we're big fans and everything. But I don't really have anything against Broncos fans or Broncos media, for that matter. So there was a point where you just kind of feel sorry about him, and you just like, you start the meme up that you're like, he's dead already. Just stop. And I think that's, I mean, I saw the reactions are great though, because I saw guys like reacting, talking about, it's like when you play somebody on Madden and you keep unplugging the other guy's controller without every time he's not looking. There's this. It was just incredible. It was an incredible experience to watch, and by the end, I was like, yeah, sure, go ahead and take the scoring record, get the 73 points. But I understand why they didn't, but still.
Literally, Alf, the only thing that was missing was Taylor Swift in the stands, because that would have been it. It couldn't have got any more than that.
Our tight ends are not that good looking.
Have you seen Mrs. Smythe, by the way?
No,
me.
no, but
Oh
Durham
my.
Smythe is a looker. I
Oh,
just shortchanged our own tight end here in favor of the Hall of Famer in Kansas City. But yeah, Durham Smythe
Mrs.
is a looker.
Mrs. Smythe is. Whew, I mean, Durham is. I mean, he's a good-looking lad, but he's punching well above his weight class.
Nice.
Whew, holy hell! Look, like I said, I don't really know where to start and where we go with this. I kind of want to talk a little bit objectively about just what we're seeing, Chris, from Mike McDaniel, because people are talking about it, and it's very fashionable. And I get that it's only 3 weeks, and there is a lot of football to be played, and you do not win championships in September. And if people are talking about MVP and all that conversation stuff is great, but let's not have the MVP conversation until after Thanksgiving in reality. So whilst it's great to be excited, and there is a massive game on the horizon, but it's a hell of a start, isn't it? And especially offensively, just like into the bag of tricks time and time and time again, and it feels like no matter what happens, it seems very difficult. I mean, we made an all-pro corner in Pat Surtain list. They look an absolute, undrafted free agent.
Yeah, I think so. It's ironically, maybe paradoxically, we can't take much from this game in the short term, but we can in the long term. Because and I say that even though that sounds funny, because in the short term we're thinking, is Tua going to get the MVP? And as you say, it's not even worth that conversation until after Thanksgiving. Is McDaniel going to get Coach of the Year? Again, way too early. You can't even be having that conversation yet at this stage of the season. Are we going to get the Super Bowl? It's week 3, dude. Like we won a game. We're 3-0. That's a good start. All of that into proper perspective, and yet, in the long run, and I was just saying this on Twitter, there's 2 things that I want for the Dolphins. One is the championship, that's obvious. And but I don't live for just championships. I'm not one of those people that, we're all wasting our time unless they win the championship. The other thing I want is just an end to this football purgatory that we've been in for over 20 years with Miami. And it's this endless cycle where we go through, it's three different types of head coach that we basically go through. We're either reaching for an iconic big name disappointment, or we're hiring the iconic big name disappointment's right hand man, who turns out to be a mediocre hard ass. Or we are hiring the quote unquote QB whisperer, who rode the coattails of a Hall of Fame quarterback. And we just kind of, cycle through those over and over again with our head coaches. And I'm not saying we tried to do any different with McDaniel, because by all means, he was supposed to be the quarterback whisperer type. So, but I think that what solidified for me yesterday is just, I think they've really done it. Like, I think however they did it, it was luck, whatever you can say, they did it. This is a guy whose schematic problem solving is, and this is not an exaggeration to say, is the envy of the league right now. And this is a guy who, engenders a lot of trust with players, a lot of respect among players and peers. And as a bonus, he's not a jerk. So and I think that this is a very special thing. He's only 40 years old. He's not going to be hired away because of a promotion like a coordinator would. He's he's not going to go into retirement at 45 years old, I wouldn't think. And he's not going to leave your mid-level conference for the SEC or something like that. We're entering into a long period of time where we have really competent coaching, and we can breathe a little easier as Dolphins fans. And to me, that's worth almost as much as a championship. So yesterday represented a lot for me. Like, everybody's like, oh, it's week 3. It's just the Broncos. It's not a championship. That's nothing like that. Well, yeah, that's true. But at the same time, this really just sealed it for me that we are entering a new era in Miami Dolphins franchise history,
Yeah.
and that's as good as a Super Bowl to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let me add to that. One of the benefits of being on OnlyFans is that you get little nuggets like the one I'm about to give you that we had about what was it, 4 years ago when Brian Flores was hired. When that hiring process was kicking off, Stephen Ross was stating his stated goals for the team, and there weren't, hey, I need to win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years. I'm going to die in the next 10, so I need my Super Bowl ring before I leave this world. It wasn't none of that. He wanted consistency. What did he want? He wanted a team that was going to be in the playoffs every single year. What he wanted was relevancy. This team is more than relevant. It's actually sexy. It's leading every single sports show, every debate show, NFL Live, NFL Network, everywhere. Mission accomplished, Stephen Ross. Now let's go get that ring.
Yeah, it's Alf, just talk to us a little bit about because Chris talked about having the right coach, and we obviously, clearly, patently have the right head coach, not only from a personality standpoint. Personality only gets you so far. You've got to show up on a Sunday, and McDaniel has consistently, generally done that for 2 years. Are there some issues that need ironing out? Yes, there's certainly last year. Some of them have been ironed out already this year, and that's the ability to have a plan B and a plan C, because we saw that in week 2, and we'll have to see that the further we go on through the season. But one of the things that I think all of us wanted to see more of, especially in critical situations, but also just generally throughout games, was more of a balance. We got that last week with 31 runs, 31 passes, in a game where we really needed it. But yesterday we had 2 running backs. Devon Achane went for 203, 204 yards. Mostert had a great game, 4 touchdowns. Mike McDaniel understands that for this offense to be as elite as it clearly is, he needs that running game to work. He can't just have Tua drop back 50, 60 times and throw all the time. The running game has to work, and it is working.
Absolutely. And it's expanded. We know about the outside zone scheme. We know about inside zone, which is something that they go to sometimes, especially with Mostert. But yesterday there were some elements of gap scheme. There were some called runs. There was it looked to me like Mike McDaniel said, look, I'm going to empty out my entire running game bag here. Let's run it all. And his offensive linemen were absolutely eating it up. There was a play, and I spoke about this also on OnlyFans, how I don't know how you can grade Austin Jackson a 51 in run blocking on PFF. By the way, for whatever reason, Tua Tagovailoa has a run blocking grade. Did you see him throw a block? And if you did see him throw a block, let's stop doing that.
Please tell him not to, yeah.
Yeah. But there was a play where, and I put pictures of it. I'll put up the video eventually, where Austin Jackson and Robert Hunt, this is the right guard and this is the right tackle. They end up on the left hash, picking up blocks 25 yards down the field with Achane behind them. Now, that might say a lot about Denver, but it says a lot about your offensive linemen that they're sprinting 25 yards across the formation, picking up blocks in the secondary. They're absolutely loving it. They're responding to it. And offensive linemen just don't like to take the punishment of pass pro all the time. You call runs, you're going to get them involved. And Mike McDaniel just has them. It's really Mike McDaniel. He's calling these runs, and they are responding. And eventually we'll give Butch Barry some credit, but it's really Mike McDaniel. He gave them a lot to do, and offensive linemen just love having a lot to do.
Well, we sat here and we bitched a little bit, forgive the language, after week 1, because we have an all-out passing attack in week 1, and we're like, here we go again. Where it's not that it was bad. I mean, the results of week 1 were exciting, and it was a hell of a win, and we were all excited about it. But the run game was left out of it. You almost get the feeling that there's a smart progression happening, a smart, a plan, I guess, so to speak, in the way that Mike McDaniel is unveiling different aspects of the offense in response, and it's sort of like getting yourself into a puncher's rhythm of punch and counter punch, because I think that in that first game he really he really put the fear of God in everybody about the passing game again, reminded them. Because the last time that they saw Miami playing with Tua Tagovailoa and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, it was not, even with Tua out there against Green Bay and in some of the games on the West Coast, it wasn't that scary, right? It hadn't been as potent as it had before. Well, what did he do against the Chargers out on the West Coast? He put the fear of God back into everybody with that passing game. So what did we see with New England? 3 deep safeties, that we saw a lot of backing up into coverage with New England. We saw a lot of backing up into coverage with the Denver Broncos. And with that, within that context, they had the opportunity to all of a sudden hit you up for run explosives because you're playing so much coverage and because you're playing back that one little crease with these guys' speed, and they make your angle disappear and they're gone. So you get this. It's not that it's just the running game is being established, which they are leading the league in rushing now after this week. It's that it happened, in its right time, and it leaves me wondering what's the next step. What are defenses going to throw at us next that McDaniel is already planning for, as a counter to the counter? And so it's remarkable, really.
One player who I think, we talk about Tua, we talk about Tyree, we talk about Rob Hunt, who's had a fantastic start to the season, but Raheem Mostert has been fantastic in all 3 games. But the thing that I think is really interesting and important about him is that he said that he'd added sort of 8, 10, 12 pounds in the offseason, and you can really tell that he's running like a 215-pound running back now. He does not go down on first contact. He punishes people. He's always falling forwards. I think he's had a brilliant start to the season. He has become a real factor and a kind of for all of those people that wanted Dalvin Cook out there, Dalvin Cook's had 25 carries for 58 yards this season, which is about the same as 2 Chris Brooks runs yesterday. And that's Chris Brooks, our 4th string running back, by the way. So you can take your Dalvin Cook and you can keep him.
Who had the best run of the day, by the way?
The long run was sensational.
That was sensational stuff by Chris Brooks.
Kudos to Chris Brooks because he looked like an NFL back. But Raheem Mostert has been he's been a really solid player, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think, and last year he was this good, although probably a little bit more up and down, like a little spottier last year. Like he had spots last year where he was this good. I mean, the big long run of the year that he had last year was one of these same angry runs that we're seeing out of him, right? And I think that he's playing as good as he's ever played in his career, and that's special because he's 31 years old, and we know what is happening with this position. And honestly, I wish he could get paid a little bit more, but there's certain realities of it. And now, with him running that way, and then you turn around and Devon Achane, I guess. Achane is he's going off for over 200 and 4 touchdowns. Chris Brooks, and one of his second carry of the game, breaks off that beautiful run that he had. And that wasn't necessary. You're not going to say, oh, the blocking blew a wide open hole and he ran untouched until he got 50 yards. I mean, that was a really great run. I think that this is really special what you're seeing from Raheem Mostert, and it's clear that he came into this year with a special focus that leads you to say he's going to have that year of his career, like that year of his career. And so far he is.
A word out on Devon Achane, because again, I've used the word special about 60,000 times, but that was one hell of a home debut for the rookie, wasn't it? He just exploded.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was spectacular. By the way, he's changed. I guess he's changing his name because in the Dolphins media guide, it says Achane.
Well, Peter King this morning had him. So Peter King had him on the phone yesterday after the game, and Peter King said to him, "How do I pronounce your name?" And he said Achane.
Yes.
So yeah.
Now somebody should get in his ear and tell him that Achane presents some marketing opportunities. You can always use a few extra dollars, Mister
Also,
Ed
yesterday
Chan.
he had a Devon chain, so it was A chain wearing a chain, which an A Chan wearing an A chain doesn't really sound as good.
No, it does not. But we talked about it. He seemed like in a hurry to get somewhere in the preseason, and he was playing way too fast. But I always felt, what he was going to be a menace in the passing game because you want to play fast in the passing game. Yesterday there was none of that. Yesterday there's actual plays, like I'm telling you, there's actual plays where and I understand, Austin Jackson and Robert Hunt are pretty decent athletes for men their size, but they're running in front of Devon Chan, 25 yards down the field. So that's just some type of patience. And, he was running through contact. He looked as dangerous as ever in the passing game. And they haven't shown everything that we've seen, that we saw from him in the preseason or in practice. There's a wheel rock coming. And who's going to run with Devon Chan, 30 yards down the field on a wheel route? We shall see.
You wonder if that first game, Alf, if he was inactive, right? And he was declared inactive. He was a healthy scratch for that game,
Mm-hmm.
And they even admitted it that he was a healthy scratch. And you wonder if that, because there has been improvement. He was running a certain way in preseason, and we saw something a little bit different yesterday. You wonder if that kind of lit a fire under him. Either way, this guy looks never happy. Like he looks always angry, always pissed off at all times.
I think he has rookie face. Like he's like a little bit like shocked and very, very locked in. Like he doesn't want to screw up. He's trying to listen to every single play call, but it's a good thing that him and Cam Smith, by the way, they're the question askers. Like they're always asking questions, and they got their own vets. Cam Smith has Jalen Ramsey and Devon Chan. It's gonna take me a while to get used to that.
Just think of the website where all those Nancy kids go. They're like the women haters.
So, 8chan,
4chan and 8chan. So that's all you got to think about.
Yeah,
the guys that never leave their basement and wank themselves silly.
8chan has Raheem Mostert, and Mostert tells him, I give him some stuff every once in a while, depending on his play. But this was a game where I just had to tell him, man, you got something. I can't wait to see what is the next iteration of Mike McDaniel's offense.
We'll go to break in a second. Come back and talk about the defense. But Chris, just a quick word on a guy that all three of us were very unhappy about pretty much when we signed him. The job that Butch Barry has done with that offensive line is, it doesn't even look like the same unit, even though it's the same players. And I'm not talking about Teron Armstead or Connor Williams. But, Rob Hunt obviously has developed year on year and is becoming a Pro Bowl caliber guard. But just generally as a unit, Austin Jackson, Isaiah Wynn, even Liam Eichenberg played 30 snaps and didn't look out of place at center. The unit is moving quickly. I thought it was very interesting. Austin Jackson talked about how Barry had made and McDaniel had made them leave the huddle, get to the line, get set, get ready quicker so that there are less pre-snap penalties. We had a lot of pre-snap penalties last year, very few so far this year. In fact, I don't think we've had any, or maybe one. And just the little things, the important things that, the coaches don't always necessarily pick up on and change year on year. It not only feels like McDaniel has done that, but it also feels like he's got kind of an offensive line cognoscenti in Butch Barry, who's come in and just completely changed the mindset of this entire unit.
Yeah, a lot of credit to Butch Barry for that. He was killed by certain members of the media, who I thought were being quite unfair. But he didn't come in with a great reputation, except for he kind of had a career habit of being brought along by other coaches who are pretty smart coaches, and I think that they know what they're seeing there, and for us, on the outside trying to evaluate assistant coaches is I've likened it before to astrology. It's we're just guessing out here with assistant coaches, to be honest. But yeah, credit to him. It's one of those things where it looks like just all of our luck has changed, right, on the offensive line, and suddenly these guys, Keon Smith was playing great in the preseason. Kendall Lamb comes in for a couple of games, plays out of his mind, in place of Teron Armstead. But then Teron Armstead comes in, and you see why Teron Armstead is still Teron Armstead.
Yes.
And so it's just it just seems like a big changing of luck. And I think it's easy to attribute that to personnel and say, oh, we're getting better players, and so maybe some of that is true. But a lot of credit to that offensive line coaching of Butch Berry's. He really seems to be fitting into the offense, and everything just seems to work so well.
There's an NFL game underway already in Chris's home city of Tampa. The Eagles have turned the ball over on downs in the Buccaneers red zone, so it's still 0-0 in this game. Bucks have the ball. We'll go to break in a sec, Alf, but just in one word, how do you sum up yesterday in terms of the offensive performance? In one word.
Optimal.
How many years have we used the words suboptimal to describe?
I recall us using the word shambolic a lot, Simon.
An omnishambles has been used.
Or an omnishambles.
An omnishambles has been used.
By the way, let me say something about Teron Armstead. He's so good that he created his own technique yesterday. I don't know if you saw the video, but defensive end was trying to shed on him, and he decided, you know what? I'm going to rewrite the rules of offensive tackle play that's been around for the last 50, 60 years. And I'm going to slap his hands out of the way, like if I'm the defensive end. And then I'm going to re-engage him. And sure enough, he did that and then re-engaged him and then put him on his ass. I've never seen anything like that. The guy invents his own technique, and it works.
He's a hell of a player.
We just got to somehow figure out how to get him and keep him healthy.
Keep him healthy. Right. We should be back in a minute. Have a listen to this.
Let me introduce you to DiscountLots.com. You can become a landowner for less than $500 down and in less than 5 minutes. You heard that right. Discount Lots has transformed land ownership. No more hefty down payments, fees, and credit score worries. Now, imagine owning a piece of property with just a $1 down payment and $300 documentation fee. DiscountLots.com makes that possible. And here's the kicker. You will get an extra 10% off any property by using the promo code 5. That's the word 5, F-I-V-E. Discount Lots makes land ownership accessible to everyone with no credit checks, no background checks, and no income checks. Go to DiscountLots.com today and make land ownership easy. Again, use the promo code 5, F-I-V-E, for 10% off any property on the site, or you can just call 661-485-4086 and tell them the promo code to get started. That's 5, F-I-V-E. Get started and begin your dream of land ownership with DiscountLots.com.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of statistics, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and an enormous selection of players and stat options are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million football fans who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/get100 and use code GET100. That's code GET100 at prizepicks.com/get100 for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Are you a South Florida property owner with an insurance claim? Are you dealing with water, mold, or fire damage to your home or business? Are you having trouble locating a 5-star rated general contractor that is fully licensed, certified, and insured? If the answer is yes, then Water Cleanup of Florida is here for you 24 hours a day. With over 60 years of combined experience, Michael, Robert, Jorge, and their team is prepared to handle any size property damage disaster. When an unexpected damage occurs to your home or business, you need specialized, fast, and reliable services. Water Cleanup of Florida understands the impact and stress an unexpected disaster may cause. Their objective is to make the cleanup and insurance claim process painless and hassle-free. Water Cleanup of Florida is also a licensed general contractor, so they provide the A to Z service, one-stop shopping that busy homeowners and business owners require. Water Cleanup of Florida is now an authorized dealer of Eurocraft cabinets, so premier kitchen, bath, and laundry cabinetry, countertops, and other accessories are available for your viewing at their showroom in Boca Raton. Or do you prefer to shop from your home or office? Then Water Cleanup will send you one of our design specialists to you with samples and products that fit your style and budget. Call Michael anytime on his personal cell phone if you have any questions at 954-579-0356. That's 954-579-0356. Or visit their website at wcufl.com. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram. And please check out their more than 80 5-star reviews on Google and Facebook. Water Cleanup of Florida. If you have the schmutz, they have the guts.
I'm Jalen Phillips, and you're listening to 3 Yards Per Carry.
Welcome back to the second half of 3 Yards Per Carry. A very celebratory 3 yards per carry, a 70-20 3 yards per carry. It was a scoregami yesterday as well. 70-20 had never been an NFL score in the history of the game. We'll talk a little bit more briefly about the defense, but generally, guys, a solid performance with some interesting numbers that were thrown up. Eli Apple only playing 4 snaps. Justin Bethel, Chris, who you didn't want to talk about 2 weeks ago, has now established himself, and let's not tell the listeners why he didn't want to talk about it, has now fully established himself pretty much as a nickel corner, because he took more snaps than anybody in that secondary on defense yesterday, and has really kind of made that position his own, especially with Cam Smith being a healthy scratch.
Yeah, I think Justin, he had a stranglehold on the he already had a stranglehold on the dime position. When they would go to dime, he would be the guy that comes in and, forget about it. That was him. But as you suggest, they decided to give him a little bit of bump up this week, with Eli Apple not playing as much and Cam Smith not active, which is sort of a similar shot across the bow to me as what Devon Achane faced in week 1. But Cam Smith wasn't active, so Justin Bethel got the bump up because he's been playing so well as a dime anyway, and excelled, did well.
Yeah, absolutely did well. Emmanuel Ogbah made a bit of an appearance yesterday, had an interception, generally looked like the Emmanuel Ogbah that we knew of kind of 2 years ago, Alf. And it was, with Jalen Phillips going down again and missing most of the second half, it was good to see Ogbah step up and finally make a bit of an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when you play so many snaps in the second preseason game of the season, and then you find yourself on the low end of the snap counts to start the NFL season, it's hard to not say that he is in some type of doghouse. But yesterday he was counted on, and this could have been, I think, the game against Buffalo last year, week 3. Oddly enough, it was week 3 last year. I thought that was his best game as a Dolphin, because he had, I believe it was, 2 sacks and like 8 pressures against Josh Allen. But this came close. An interception, a sack, 4 pressures. He was really, really good. And it's good to see because, you win in this league by putting your money on the field, and you don't win in this league when you have a $16 million a year player getting 8 snaps in a game. So it's about time he produces and becomes I wouldn't say a focal point, but an important rotational player on this defense.
But it feels like they stopped fighting the tide a little bit with him, because if you look at how he was used yesterday, first game he took I think 15 snaps in space, with his hand up, 3 snaps with his hand down, and then the second game, 16 snaps, all of them were his hand up, in space. This time around, he played about 10 snaps with his hand on the ground. As a left defensive end or a right end. And so, it was about half and half of what, hand up off the ground or in space and versus being kind of a defensive end, which is more his experience, more his comfort zone. And you sort of almost think, maybe we stopped being stubborn about this, and started putting him in positions that, work better for him. And I think
What a
they got
revolutionary
dividends.
idea, Chris.
What's that?
What a revolutionary idea.
Yeah, it's
Putting round
it
pegs
is
in round holes.
revolutionary in Miami, but yeah, I think it definitely was a nice development.
A question for you. I know we're always prisoners at the moment. Do we think that Kader Kohu is now the best cornerback on the Miami Dolphins?
Possibly most complete corner, because he's so good in run support, and he's really good as a force player too. Like, you leave him uncovered as the nickel, like he's like almost like another linebacker out there. He's such a good insured tackler. But Xavier Howard still has some moments where you remember he's Xavier Howard in man coverage. So it's close. He's the most complete corner. I know that. That's kind of a fact already.
Chris?
Well, yes, I do believe he's the best all around corner for this team at the moment, given that Jalen Ramsey is not playing yet. But what was interesting about how they used him is they didn't play him in the slot as a slot corner a single time.
No.
In this game, and that's just remarkable for considering his experience, and the kind of player that he is. He was a wide corner for us or for the Dolphins almost exclusively yesterday, and it's going to be fascinating to see how that continues. It's not that I don't think he can play the slot corner. It's that almost as if he's graduating a little bit beyond it. It's just interesting to see, and I think he is the best corner on the field for the Dolphins at this moment.
The Perry Nickerson, Xavier Howard blitz was fairly funky from Vic Fangio, who started to call up some pretty funky blitzes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought what was also interesting to me was how he played Javon Holland now. Played him a little closer to the line. Gone was most of that robber role that he was playing in against New England, and a little bit more faith in Deshaun Elliott.
Deshaun Elliott. Well, I think Elliott's played really, really well this season, and he's playing a lot of single high safety down the field. There's a really good understanding between the two of them as well.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of trust from Vic Fangio. And Vic Fangio, some of these old coaches, you could hear their buzzwords. And when you hear their buzzwords, it's stuff that they actually really believe in. And Fangio tends to say the word trust a lot. And you could go back into his transcripts and just go look at each of his pressers. And he's always mentioning, we got to be ready to trust him in this role, or we haven't built up enough trust in this player. He seems to care about that word. And if he's caring about that word, that will explain why a rookie in Cam Smith, who I thought earned the right to dress in the home opener with his work on special teams against the Patriots, that would explain how he's inactive against Russell Wilson. And I would guess probably inactive against the Josh Allen, but we shall see later on this week. But yeah, more trust is being handed to Deshaun Elliott. And I think that great mystery of who's going to take that role in the regular season, when there was a wide and open competition in preseason, I guess that's been solved. Those are our two safeties, Javon Holland, Deshaun Elliott, and that they're going to be that for the balance of the season until Ramsey comes back and they try some new different things.
Yeah. I've got two questions for you before we get out. One is related to the offense, and the first one is, and I'm saying that as I'm sat here watching the Eagles, knowing that we're playing the Eagles in a few weeks' time. Do you think, Chris, there will come a point where defensive coordinators think, look, we can't stop this Dolphins team. We can't. New England tried to do what they did, and they ran all over them, and they were still able to move the ball through the air. They went up and down the yard against the Chargers on the road, and they scored 70 at home against the Broncos. Is there going to come a point where they just, like, somebody does something completely funky and literally just, rushes two defensive linemen and just drops 9 people back into coverage and just floods? I mean, Mike McDaniel has pushed the envelope as an offensive coordinator. Is it going to take somebody pushing the envelope as a defensive coordinator to get this thing figured out? And somebody just has to do something revolutionary to try and stop it.
Yeah, I think it is going to take some sort of novel approach to desync the Dolphins offense right now, because they've shown what they've already shown with the New England Patriots is they can go against a team that has or a defense, I say rather, whose strength of the entire unit is the defensive front, right? That was the Patriots. They were quite good. Not just good against the Jets, obviously, but in Week 1 against the Philadelphia Eagles, who have clearly one of the best offensive lines in football. So they can go against a unit that has a good defensive front, and what are they going to do? Well, they're going to get the ball out of to his hands in under 2 seconds, on average, which is just absolutely incredible. And what it did to that defensive front, rendering them completely superfluous, useless. They might as well just been sitting against a fence post smoking a cigarette. It should be illegal. So they've shown that they can do that. But then they've also shown that they can handle a defensive front that isn't quite that skilled as that, and that if you pull back into coverage, they've shown that they can hit you, not just with wide zone and zone cutback, but also in between those two, and hit you for an explosive run. They've shown that they can hit you everywhere, and they've shown a great variety of different things that they can. And people sometimes are like, "Oh, they put too much on film already. It's going to let teams catch up with them." That's only a concern if you can only do a small number of things. At that point, you worry about how much you show on film. If you can do a great many things, then the more things you show on film, the more things you force them to prepare for, and then that just spreads defenses even thinner. It's going to take something either, and I really think I'm going with extremes. I'm going with extremes like the all-out type of zero that we used to see from Brian Flores, and Josh Boyer. It's going to take either something like that, or it's going to take the sort of no down linemen. You might have defensive guys that are considered defensive linemen on the field, but no down linemen, with sort of an amoeba look on. You don't know who's coming, who's not coming, but also like the play that Kyle Duggar made in the New England game toward the end of the game, where he just got his fingertips on that ball, was an absolutely brilliant technique. It was a blitz option. It was not a fake blitz. He was actually coming until he saw that he was going to draw an actual block from Connor Williams, at which point he immediately reverses field and comes back into a short zone, and then he changed direction, got his fingertips on that ball. That ball that was against a zero coverage, and it would have been a touchdown to Eric Ezukanma. If you look at the all 22, it was absolutely going to be a touchdown. He was going to just catch it on the run and keep running forever. It's going to take something like that, like more expansion on that. But then I still don't know what Mike McDaniel's answer is going to be to that. And at this point, I would assume he is going to have an answer to that. So it's going to be a fascinating chess match to see the rest of the way.
My final question, and it's just a one-word answer from both of you, but as we were getting into the situation where Mike could have gone for it and broken the record, for the points record, it would have meant Jason Sanders coming out. Would Jason Sanders have made the field goal, or would Jason Sanders have missed the field goal? Alf?
It would have gotten blocked in return for a touchdown.
Chris?
He would have made it simply because it wasn't important.
There you go. Unfortunately, that's how much faith we currently have in our former all-pro kicker. It was a hell of a game yesterday, wherever you watched it, wherever you were in the world. If you were waking up in the middle of the night in Australia or Japan or in the UK or wherever you were, it was an astonishing performance. The like of which we've never seen in our lifetime and maybe never will see again. 10 offensive touchdowns, a masterclass from Mike McDaniel, and an embarrassment that we put on the Denver Broncos. It finished Miami 70. I mean, in the UK, we would spell that score out afterwards if it was on the radio. If a soccer team scores 7 goals, you then have to spell out SEVEN just in case people think that can't be right. 70-20. We beat another NFL team by 50 points. We shall be back on Thursday to talk about a massive game in the AFC East, a massive game in the AFC, a massive game already on that long and winding road to home field advantage for the playoffs. It is the Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills in October rather than in the frigid snow of December. So we shall see you on Thursday night. Thanks for tuning in as always. We do appreciate you. Don't forget you can join us every single day on OnlyFins. It's a massive $3 a month to sign up and chat with us and talk about stuff, and a great community and videos and all sorts of college stuff, draft stuff. Just a lot of fun, really, with a lot of good, like-minded Dolphins fans. So that's very easy to sign up. Go to our 3 yards per carry Twitter at 3 yards per carry, and all the details will be there. We shall see you on Thursday. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, by the way, 70-20. Oh, I forgot. Game balls. Crikey. I got so excited with the score, I forgot to do game balls. Alf, your game balls?
You know what? I'm going to stick to what I decided to do this season, and I'm just going to give one because it's too easy to just say, the whole offensive line gets a game ball. So I'm gonna stick to my new tradition, which is just giving one out. How can you not give it to the rookie who sees his first real action in the NFL and gets 4 touchdowns, 2 of them through the air, 2 of them on the ground, and 203 yards rushing? Yeah, Devon Achane or Achan. However the hell he pronounces it. That's who gets my game ball.
Chris?
I'm going to go with Achan as well because, I don't want that to get lost. 233 total yards, 4 touchdowns on really his rookie debut. If it were any other week and any other result than the 70-20 just shellacking, we would be wagging our tongues about this for a month, and I think so he deserves his flowers.
Yeah, I mean, Achan for me as well. I mean, you don't rush for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns in your home debut and not win the award. So just to say, for those of you who are on social media, that Bradley Chubb wore a microphone yesterday, and the Dolphins have uploaded a sexy minute of Chubb celebrating and talking to Achan and all sorts of business in the game yesterday. So that's well worth looking at because I've just seen it, albeit on mute. On Twitter. So we will see you on Thursday night for the preview of the visit to the Bills. Have a great week.
Thanks for listening to 3 yards per carry. You can subscribe via iTunes, on Podbean, or your usual podcast provider.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of statistics, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and an enormous selection of players and stat options are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million football fans who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/get100 and use code GET100. That's code GET100 at prizepicks.com/get100 for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.